going. Okay, so welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us at another National Geographic Learning webinar. Today's topic is fact or fake, authenticity in the digital era. Let me introduce myself. My name is Will Lachette, and I am a senior academic consultant at National Geographic Learning. I'm also a teacher trainer. I'm from the UK, but I live in Singapore, and I've been working in English language teaching for more than 20 years now. Today, we're going to be using content from one of our academic skills programs called Reading Explorer. I'm using the 3rd edition, and we're going to be using level 2. So level 2 is for students who are B1 to B2 on the CEFR, that's intermediate or upper intermediate level. So while Reading Explorer has been around for a while, it just received a big upgrade because now it is on our digital platform Spark, which means it has a whole range or suite of digital tools that makes teaching and learning easier and more effective. Today, yes, we're using this level 2. As I said, this is for B1 to B2 level students. All right, so I'm going to be using the classroom presentation tool. We call it the CPT, classroom presentation tool. This is a digital version of the textbook, of the program itself, of the course book, if you like. And it is just one of the tools that you will find on Spark, our digital platform. If you have been using Reading Explorer before, you may have been using a different classroom presentation tool. This is the new one that I'm going to be showing you today. All right, so I'm going to now do a different share, and we're going to move over and we're going to start the lesson. Okay, so today it is a model lesson. So I'm going to ask you to pretend that you are my students. Okay, you are my intermediate/upper intermediate students. And this is the lesson that we're doing today. Okay, so let's start off with the title. Okay, so the title is Fact or Fake. Now, usually when we have this, it sounds like another phrase that you might think about when you go to the library. What is the normal phrase? We usually say fact or it's another word beginning with F. Can anyone tell me what it is? Fact or... Right, okay, fact or fiction, right? Okay, fact or fiction, right? So we talk about fiction and non-fiction books. This is a play on words or a joke, fact or fake. Can anyone tell me what this word fake means? So fiction, when we talk about fiction, it is when we, like a movie or a TV series or a story, where we make up a story that's not real. Yeah, so fact or fake, we use this to mean false. Or another word beginning with G. It's not beginning with G. Can anyone tell me what that is? It means that it is not genuine. Exactly, not genuine or not authentic. Okay, so this lesson is about how do we distinguish whether something is real, something is true, or if it is not genuine, if it's inauthentic, if it has been made up, if it's false, if it is a lie. So let's start off with this. So here we've got a lovely image. Okay, does this look like a new image or an old image to you? What do we think? It looks very old, doesn't it? Okay, very old image. And can anyone tell me what you can see in this very old image? We can see some fairies. We see a girl. We see fairies. Fantastic. Okay, so we see a girl with some fairies. And this photo that is very old, what do we think? Do you think this is a real image? Do you think this is a genuine image, or do you think it's a fake? It is famous. It is very famous, Joseph. You're right. Some of you have seen it before. You think it's fake. Why do you think it's fake? A fakey fake, says Bronwyn. Why do you think it might be fake? Too sharp for old photos? Okay, Ray says, because fairies are not real. Right. So you believe that fairies are not real. When this photo was produced, when it was taken, do you think people believed it back then? Looks like Photoshop, maybe. Okay, so I don't think they had Photoshop back then. Possibly, yes. Okay, well, let's find out, shall we? So have a look at that photo. Let's find out a bit more information. So this photo was taken in 1917, and it was made by two young girls, two sisters from Cottingley in England. And they released these photographs, which supposedly, so supposedly means not really, okay, showing fairies. Okay, a fairy is a pretend being, okay, yeah, like a witch or something. Like a fairy is like a good witch, right? And they pretended they'd seen them in their garden, but obviously the images were fake. And the fairies, they were not Photoshop, which is what we might see today. They were actually paper cutouts. So they just cut them out and put them in the photo and took a photo of it. But people around the world believed that these fairies were real. Okay, and it wasn't until many years later the two sisters admitted that they were fake. But in 2018, these original photos sold for over $25,000. So the pictures here were fake. They were yeah, not fake in the way we get today. They were literally just paper cutouts that they stuck there and took the photo. So I got a question for you. All of you said it's not real. But in 1917, a lot of people believed this. Why do you think people believed it back then? Why do you think people believed that this photo was real back in 1917 when today none of you believed it? So why in the past did people believe it? I'm interested to see why you think there's a difference between now and then. Right, there was no internet. Okay, yep. Right, Ray says people were naive back then. Why were they naive? As before media, maybe people hadn't seen this type of media before. There was not much information about it. Yeah, people just saw it. Okay, people maybe believed in fairies because these stories had been passed down, as Pushpa said, passed down for generations. People used to believe in legends. Bronwyn says some people wanted to believe the picture was real, right? So if people loved fairies, they wanted it to be real. Fairies, yeah, a lot of stories, Lou said, a lot of stories include fairies in them, right? So there's a lot of reasons. Back then, people probably had never seen a fake photo before, right? Because it wasn't common to do that. Whereas these days, we see fake photos everywhere. Can you tell me, just type into the chat box for me, yes or no, have you ever seen a fake photo on the internet? Yes or no? Have you ever seen an image that was not real? Everyone says yes, right. Have you seen, again, yes or no, have you seen a fake image within the last 3 days? Yeah, so it's very, very common now. We've probably seen one already today. We see them all the time. So now we're less likely to believe them than we were in the past, right? Okay, very good. So we already answered this question. Why do you think people believe they were real? And we've done this one here. These are the two questions that we're going to use to warm our students up. Why do people think they were real? And have you seen any fake photos you thought were real? Okay, fantastic. Right. We're now going to move on and we're going to look at a reading passage. And this reading passage is called The Knowledge Illusion. Okay, and this reading, The Knowledge Illusion, is about why we believe fake news, why we believe things that are not real. Okay, so before we do that, I'm going to ask you a few questions. I'd like to hear your opinion. So I asked you just then, why did people in the past believe these photos? And one of you said, because they wanted it to be true. And I think that's still true today. So let's think about now. So think about yourselves, think about everybody in the world. we see a lot of things which are not real, especially on the internet, and people believe it. So can you give me any reasons? Why do we believe these things? So number one, because we want it to be true. For example, the fairies. Can you give me another reason, please, why we believe fake news, why we believe fake photos, why we believe things which are not true? Can anyone give me another reason? And let's make a little list here. Sometimes for hope. Okay, so that's similar, right? We want it to be true. We hope it's true. Okay, I'd say that's fairly similar. Luz says they're crafted perfectly. Yeah, okay, so because it looks or seems or feels real, right? Okay, it looks real, so we think it's real. That's a great one. Right. Weldon says because it supports your existing belief system. I'm going to rephrase it. Because we already believe it. Okay, we already believe that, right? Exactly. George or Jorge, Jorge, perhaps I pronounced that. It's easier to believe than search for yourself, right? Because we do not check if it is real. Great. It's easier, right, to believe it. Confirmation bias, says Sherry. Right. Okay, great. That's a good phrase. To confirm one's thinking. Yeah, okay. So that to confirm one thinking, I think is the same as C because we already believe it. We're blinded by what is true. Perhaps because it really is true. Sometimes it's more comfortable to believe in nice things. Right. So I think that more comfortable is this one. We want it to be true, right? Okay. People have a pure heart. Because we are naive, or another word we could use, gullible. Okay, so naive means that we have lack experience. Gullible means that we just believe everything that we're told. Yeah, that's true. We do not have our own judgment. Okay, we do not think, make a judgment. Right, so we've got some really good ones there, right? I think there's one one important one missing, which is where we get the information from, right? So if maybe a complete stranger tells us something, maybe we don't believe it. But if there's a certain type of person, if they tell us something, we're more likely to believe it. What type of person is that? Maybe if it's a stranger on the street, okay, maybe they look messy, okay, you don't necessarily believe them. Right, yeah, Weldon says an authority figure. Okay, right, so because someone in authority tells us, right? Can you give us an example of someone in authority we might believe? A family, a teacher, right? Okay, yeah, we're going to believe what our teacher tells us often. Great. So we've got all these reasons. That's fantastic. Okay, you've got some really good reasons there about why we believe things that are not real. Okay, let's go back into our article and we're going to do a little example before we check your answers there. We're going to do this little experiment. Okay, so have a look at this here. It says, before you read the question below and think about your answer. So it says here, a bat, like a cricket bat or a baseball bat, and the ball, if you buy them together, okay, so they have two separate prices, but the total price is $1.10. Okay, so keep that in your head. Okay, the total cost of these two items is $1.10. Let me ask you a question. If the two items cost the same amount, if they were equally priced, how much would they be? So it's $1.10. So we've got two items of the same price that makes $1.10. How much would they cost? 55 cents. There we go. 55 cents. Okay, 55 cents each. That makes in total $1.10. All right. Okay, now let's have a look at the next bit of information. Okay, so I'm just going to erase this. It says here the bat costs $1 more than the ball. Okay, so we've got total $1.10. The bat costs $1 more than the ball. So what the question is, how much does the ball cost? So in the chat box, please, I want you to write down for me, how much does the ball cost? Let's see what your answers are. Okay, Maria says 10, Jim says 10, Pushpa 10. Clyde says 5, 10, 10, 10. Lots of tens. Tanya says 5. Okay, so most of you are saying 10. Okay, there's just a couple of people saying 5. All right. Okay, so we've got two different answers, 10 and 5. Most of you are saying 10. Let's go over and we're going to read and listen to the first part of the knowledge illusion. Okay, so let's listen to this.
Track 21. Reading 11A. The knowledge illusion. A bat and a ball cost $1.10 in total. The bat costs $1 more than the ball. How much does the ball cost? If you answered 10 cents, you're not alone. Most people give the same answer. The correct answer is 5 cents. It's an example of how we often rely on intuitive responses, answers we feel are true. People give answers that pop into their mind, says cognitive scientist Stephen Sloman. We don't spend much time reflecting and checking whether the answer is right or wrong. The bat and ball question helps explain why we often believe in fake news. It is part of human nature to believe, says Sloman, but the trick with fake news is to know to verify. In other words, to stop and question what you know.
Fantastic. Right. So let's just digest that information for a moment. So most of you told me that the ball would cost 10 cents. What was the correct answer? So the correct answer is 5 cents, right? And the reason that we think it's 10 is because we see this information, $1.10, and then we see the bat costs $1 more. And then we know, okay, that we have 10 here. So we've got $1.10. So our brains logically leap to this $1.10, right? But we know actually, if we have $1 and we take away 10 cents, we've got 90 cents, right? So to get a $1 difference, we need the bat to cost $1.05. And the ball would just cost 5 cents. But it feels like the answer should be $1.10. Okay. Now, how is that related to fake news? Well, the reason it's related to fake news is that our brains like to get a simple, we rely on, it says here, intuitive responses. Okay, so this word intuition means a feeling. So if it feels right, if it looks right, we're going to believe it. And actually, someone said that earlier on. Okay, when we were looking here, someone says B, we had because it looks real or seems or feels real. Okay, so we often believe things like that. We don't stop to analyze, we don't evaluate, we just naturally believe it if it feels right. And there's a good reason for that, because if we stopped to analyze everything that we did in life, we'd never get anywhere, we'd never get anything done. Just to answer a question I had here from someone earlier, someone says, Melini said, what's the black square moving on your screen? It's actually my Zoom chat box. I'm sorry if that's bothering you. It's just I need to be able to read what you're saying. So if you can see a black square, that is the Zoom chat box, okay? Right, let's go back into our reading and we're going to find out a bit more, okay? So let's go on from paragraph D.
One experiment, Sloman and a colleague invented a discovery called helium rain. They told a group of volunteers about it, but admitted they could not fully explain what it was. They then asked the volunteers to rate their own understanding of helium rain. Most volunteers rated themselves 1 out of 7, meaning they did not understand the concept. The researchers then told another group of volunteers about the discovery. This time, they said that scientists could fully explain how it works. When asked to rate their understanding, the volunteers gave an average answer of 2. The scientists' confidence gave the volunteers an increased sense of their own understanding, Sloman says.
Okay, so let's stop it there. Okay, and I'm just going to, let's do a little bit of explanation, a little bit of analysis here. Okay, so here we've got Sloman. Okay, who do you think Sloman is? It says he's doing an experiment. Okay, so he's testing something. What do you think Sloman's job might be? Linda says, yes, so maybe he's some kind of scientist or researcher. Okay, scientist slash researcher. So he's trying to find out the answer to a question by doing a practical experiment. Okay. And they said that they had discovered this helium rain. So helium is a gas. It's a very light gas that you put into balloons for children, okay, that floats in the air, okay? And it definitely cannot be rain, okay? It cannot turn into rain. Rain is water. Next, so they told a group of volunteers. So volunteers, these are people who have said that they will take part in the experiment, okay? And yeah, they told these volunteers about the helium rain. But the important bit is that the scientists said to the volunteers, they said, we have this helium rain. We know this is real, but we can't explain it. Okay, we don't know why it happens, but it's real, but we cannot explain it. We don't understand it. Then they asked the volunteers, do you understand it? So tell us. 1 is I completely don't understand, and 7 is I understand 100%. Do you understand the concept or idea of this helium rain? And almost everyone said 1. I don't understand this at all. 0. Okay, next. They then got another group, a second group, and they told them the same thing. Okay, we've discovered this helium rain. This is a real thing. It's real. And I'm not going to explain it to you, but I can. I understand it 100%. I can explain it in absolute detail. Okay. Then they asked these volunteers, group 2, how much do you understand it? Okay, maybe you can tell me. The second group, did they understand it better or worse than the first group? Did they say they understood it better or worse than the first group? So the first group gave themselves 1. And the second group gave themselves 2. Okay, so Cherry, Pushpa both said better. And Bronwyn, very good critical thinking here. They said they understood it better, but they did not, which is exactly the point. So why did they say they understood it better? Why did they say, yes, I understand this better? What was it that gave them more confidence? It was the scientist. So it was because the scientist, or what we said earlier, let's just go back here for a minute. Someone in authority, okay, told them that they could explain it. So that made them think, okay, it's more real. Okay, we understand it better. I think that's very, very interesting, isn't it? And this helps to explain why we believe what people tell us. People in authority tell us, we believe them. Okay, let's have a little look at the rest of this article. Okay, there's a bit more to go. We move the chat box out of the way.
According to Sloman, studies show that knowledge spreads like a contagion. This idea can be seen in many fields, including politics. If everyone around you is saying they understand why a politician is crooked, Sloman says, then you're going to start thinking that you understand too. Another explanation for the spread of fake news is motivated reasoning, writes Adam Waits, a management professor at the Kellogg School. We are naturally more likely to believe things that confirm our existing opinions. If you already have a negative opinion about someone, you're more likely to trust damaging stories about them. Over time, Waits argues, motivated reasoning can lead to a false social consensus.
Okay, so let's have a look at here. We've got 2 other reasons, okay, why we believe things which are not real. So let's have a look in paragraph F here. And they say here that studies show knowledge spreads like a contagion. Okay. Can anyone tell me what this word means, contagion? So spread means travel, okay, or move. And what about contagion? Can anyone tell me what that means? So it's a disease that spreads. Yeah, person to person is a great way of explaining it. A disease that spreads easily. So what this is saying here, that if people around you say something, okay, if everyone's saying it, then we believe it as well, okay? If everyone says they don't believe it, then we are less likely to believe it. We will say we don't believe it. So we believe what everyone else is saying, basically. So it says here, if everyone around you is saying they understand why a politician is crooked, that means they're a cheat or a liar. So if everyone says, yes, that guy is a liar, then you are more likely to believe that that guy is a liar as well. Okay, interesting. How about paragraph G? Another explanation of the spread of fake news is motivated reasoning. Okay, now motivated reasoning, okay, it says here, we are more likely to believe things that confirm our existing opinion. So we said this earlier, if you already believe something, then we're more likely to believe something similar. Yeah, so Tanya's saying motivated reasoning sounds like confirmation bias. Yeah, I think they are strongly related concepts, Tanya. Motivated reasoning, confirmation bias. So it says here, motivated reasoning can lead to a false social consensus. Okay, let's finish listening to the article.
So, in a world where misleading information is common, is there a way to protect ourselves? I don't think it's possible to train individuals to verify everything that they encounter, Sloman admits. It is just too human to believe what you're told. However, training people to care about fact-checking is important, he argues, especially in online communities. Think of the headlines and stories that are shared on your social media feed every day. Probably these fit in with your own worldview, but perhaps not all of them are true. Develop a norm in your community that says, we should check things and not just take them at face value, Sloman says. Verify before you believe.
Great. Okay, so here we move on. The first part of the article is telling us why we believe fake news or things that are not true. And the last bit here, it's examining what that means, okay, the analysis of that for us. So after listening to that, can you think of any advice or any ways that we can protect ourselves from misinformation or from fake news? So what can we do to protect ourselves from all of this fake information that we see on the internet? It's everywhere these days, okay? Not just on the internet, everywhere. So Luz said, very good. Okay, so one, we can say read other sources, right? Okay, I'm actually going to make a note about this, okay? So we can put here, okay, read other sources. So if something pops up on your social media, it's likely because they know what you like, so they're giving you more stuff that you like. So it's likely to be something that you already believe. So if you're seeing this stuff, you could check it somewhere else. Check other sources. Yeah, we can say fact check. Great. Think critically. Okay, question. Okay, ask questions. Okay, why did someone write this? Right? Who wrote this? Okay, or who made the picture or whatever? Right? Ask questions. Yeah. Yes, Bronwyn, ask yourself why they're saying what they're saying. Consult, ask other people. Yeah, okay, check. Yeah, so read other sources, fact check. Okay. Ask other people. Yeah, think about the source. Right, very good. Okay, Simeon, think about the source validity. Okay, look at the source. Okay, is it reliable? Okay, is it a reliable news source that you trust? Or is it not? Okay, so you need to think about where this information is coming from. But the most important bit of information thing we can do, okay, is really, as it says here, yeah, don't just take everything at face value. Keep in your mind, people are trying to trick me. People are trying to tell me things that are not real. So keep that in mind, think about it. And if it seems something might be dodgy, we should, maybe not true, we should verify it. We should check it before we believe it. Obviously, we can't do that for everything, but we should do it for things which are important, okay, and for things which feel like they might not be true, Okay, excellent. Right, let's do some, let's go over here and we're going to do some questions here, right? Some comprehension questions. And what I really like in Reading Explorer is that when we've got these comprehension questions, it's telling us what type of question we're going to be looking at. And this is really important for our students so that they can get a good understanding of what types of question they're good at and which types of questions they need more support with. Okay, so this gist question is looking for the main idea. So let's do this question together. What would be the best alternative title for the reading? Okay, so we've got three titles here. We've got Helium Rain, A Great Discovery. We've got Stop, Question, and Verify. And we've got Social Media and How to Use It. So let's look at the first one, helium rain. Now, this article, did it talk about helium rain? So lots of you giving me answers here. Let's do it together this way. Did it talk about helium rain? This article, do you remember it mentioning that? It did. Okay, and it says here, a great discovery. Now, is helium rain real? It's not real, right? So we know it's not real, so it's not a discovery. So we know that's definitely not the right answer. Okay. So I like to use this approach sometimes with my students to do a process of elimination. Okay. Next we've got B and C. Let's look at C. It says social media and how to use it. Okay. Now, did it mention social media? This article, did it mention social media? Well, I think it did. Okay, I think it mentioned it as saying, especially when it says when you see things on your social media, it's showing you things that you believe. Now, so we could imply here that it's telling you to be careful on social media, but it's not only talking about, right, as Ivy says, not entirely. It's not only talking about social media. Okay, it's talking about all information that we hear. Okay, it starts off talking about people telling you about politicians being crooked. So it's not only about social media. So that is definitely not going to be the main point. So the main point is this one: stop, question, and verify, which we can see also at the end there. Okay, when we got to the end of the article, okay, we can see the last thing here. It tells us to verify before you believe, right? So even in the conclusion here, okay, it's telling us to verify. So we can say that that's the right answer. Stop, question, and verify. Okay, let's have a look at a couple more of these questions. Next one, we've got a vocabulary question. So here we're going to be looking at the word verify. Okay, so the best way to do this would be to look at the context. So it says, what does the word verify mean? So let's go back into here. Paragraph C. And it says here, the trick with fake news is to know to verify. And then it says, in other words, which means it's explaining it, it's explaining the word verify, to stop and question what you know. So this is a vocabulary question, and it's actually explaining it. So we're going to show our students that this is a signpost, okay, which is explaining this word verify. Okay, so let's go back into the question and see if we can get the answer. So what do we think? To make sure something is true, to think about something for a long time, or to express an opinion about something? What do we think the answer is? I can see lots of people in the chat box have already decided that A, to make sure, to verify means to check, to make sure that it is true. Exactly. Okay, let's try one more. So this one is purpose. So this is an interesting type of question. Purpose is a type of question where we're thinking about why did they do this? Okay, what was the purpose? So it says the author uses the example of the bat and ball question to show that something. So we've got here A, people often forget skills they learned at school. B, there is often more than one possible answer. So not very straight line there. And C, many people give quick responses without thinking. Okay, so what do we think? I can see lots of people putting C into the box there, CCC. All right, and again, so we want to explain to our students why the other ones are wrong. So the first one, it is talking about maths. It starts off talking about maths, right? Bat and ball, and we could argue that you know, that question makes us feel like our maths is not very good. But that showing our maths is not very good and we forgot that at school does not relate to the rest of the article, right? So that one is definitely incorrect. So the point of the article is to show that we do not think carefully, and that is why we believe things. But it's this lack of thinking, lack of critical thinking. So that's why, although we mentioned this, it is linked to the bat and ball question, but it's not the main point. Okay, right. So we've got two other types of questions. We've got detail and we've got inference. Let's skip detail and have a look at inference because it's more interesting. So which of the following is an example of motivated reasoning? Okay, motivated reasoning we mentioned earlier. It says here, you're not sure a story on social media is true, so you search online for more information. You post a message online that gives your opinion about a news story, or you don't believe a negative story about a soccer player because he plays for your favorite team. Okay, now let's go and have, because this is quite a difficult question because the answer is not directly in the text. We need to work it out. Okay, so let's go and look at motivated reasoning. That's the key word. Let's find it in the text and read what it says. Okay, so here's motivated reasoning in G. And it talks about here you're naturally more likely to believe things that confirm our existing opinions. Now, here's the example. If you already have a negative opinion about someone, you're more likely to trust damaging stories about them. Now, this word damaging, is that a positive word or a negative word? If we damage something, it's negative, right? So in the example here, we've got, you have a negative opinion, you will trust a negative story. So negative, negative, okay? Negative, negative. You believe it's negative, you will believe something else negative, right? Okay, now let's have a look at the examples here. Is there something similar to that example here? Which one of those is similar to that negative, negative? Yeah, C is similar, but it's not the same. So this one, it says you don't believe a negative story because he plays for your favorite team. Now, if it's your favorite team, do you have a negative or a positive belief about that player? It's your favorite team, so you have a positive belief. So this is the opposite, okay? So this is saying, whereas the original example in the text says you have a negative belief, so you will believe something else negative. This is the opposite. So we're applying or inferring that. It's saying that you don't believe something negative because you already hold a positive belief. So it's the opposite. We had to infer that. And I think that's a really nice way to explain to your students how an inference question works. There we go. Don't believe, negative, okay, equals positive. There we go. Right, perfect. Great. Okay, so there we got some really nice questions. And as I said, I really like the way that we're actually signposting to our students the type of question we're dealing with so that they understand, the technique they need to use to answer these types of questions. Okay, just in case you want to check that your answers were right, okay, I can show you the answers here. Okay, there we go. Make sure we've got them all right. Okay, there we go. So we can see that you've got them all correct. Okay, so well done. Some very nice work there. All right, let's have a look at this. We've got some more questions. And this is obviously true, false, not given, which is a very common exam activity you'll find in IELTS, for example. So either true, false, not given, or sometimes true, false, or doesn't say, DS. And I found in my, I taught academic English for many years, and a lot of my students really, really struggle with these types of questions because they're normally just used to true or false. And when you add in this not given, they find it very confusing. I don't know if you found this as well, if you've been teaching academic English, but my students often found the difficult to differentiate between false and not given. So we're going to do a little activity now, which I used to use with my students to help them understand, okay, how they should approach these. So let's go back into my OneNote here, which I'm using as my whiteboard, and we're going to have a look at this. So here I've prepared a very, very simple 2-sentence text. and we're going to do true, false, not given. So let's read the text. It says polar bears live in the Arctic. Okay, are we all okay with what the Arctic is? Is that in the north of the world or the south of the world? It's in the north. Great. Okay, now there, so polar bears, okay, polar bears' skin is black. Okay, so here's our skin. Okay, we have skin. All mammals have skin, animals have skin. But their fur, how about this word fur? Can you give me another word for fur? Just want to make sure we really understand. Hair, great. Okay, but the polar bear's fur has no color pigment. Okay, right. Now this word pigment, we'd probably need to explain. So pigment is like a substance or a chemical which we find in our skin and in our hair, which makes it that color. So if you have black hair, you have black pigment in your hair that makes it black. Okay? Okay, so we understand the text, right? Now let's have a look at these true, false, not given questions, right? So we're going to go through them together. So the first one says, number one, polar bears live in Canada. Okay, now what do we think? Is this true, false, or not given? Pushpa says not given. Cherry says false. Luz says true. Right, so straight away we've got all three answers given there. I'm going to go with the one that you say the most. So not given seems to be the most commonly given answer there. Okay, although we have got also true and false, right? Okay, question number two. To help me here, when you type in your answer, can you put number two and then T, F, or NG so I know which question we're doing? So number two, polar bears live in Singapore. So what's the answer? Two, false. Okay, false. Okay, most of you are putting false. Some of you are putting not given. Okay, I think most of you put false, so I'm going to put false there. It's too hot for them, Sherry. Yes, it would be, wouldn't it? Okay, next one, number three. Polar bears have white fur. What do we think? Can you put three and then your answer? Three. Let's see. So we've got false, false, true, false, true, not given, true. Okay, I think most of you are putting false. So I'm going to put false here. Okay, how about number four? Polar bear fur is transparent or colorless. So put number four and then put your answer. True, Mariani. True, true, true. Okay, most of you putting true. Number five, polar bears have black skin. So number five. True, true. Okay, great. And the last one, number six, polar bears are dangerous. Number six. Great. Everyone's going for not given. Okay, now I'm just going to draw your attention to this. This is a badly written text. It's a bad example, okay, of how questions can be difficult to answer. Okay, so I'm just using this as an example of why people make mistakes. Okay, so this is, I wouldn't recommend you use this exact as a real test because it's very, very difficult. But let's have a look next. Let's try have a look at this next, the factual truth, because this is where I find my students get into problems, right? So the factual truth. So let's have a look at this. Polar bears live in Canada. Now, is that factually true? Do polar bears live in Canada? Let's see what we know. Yeah, they do. Yes, so they do live in Canada. So in fact, most of the polar bears in the world actually found in the land that belongs to Canada, which is in the Arctic. Okay, so parts of Canada are in the Arctic and polar bears live there. So this is factually true. And this is where students start to make mistakes. They try to use their background knowledge to help them with the text because it's faster. So they're reading about something, they think, I know that's true, I'm going to put it's true. But of course, it's only true if it says it in the text, okay? And if it's not in the text, then it's not given, all right? So this is factually true. So polar bears live in Canada, not given, okay? The factual truth is it's true. And the answer, according to the text, is not given, because it does, we can't say that they're in, we just know they're in the Arctic, but we don't know from the text. It could be a different part of the Arctic, not the Canadian bit. Okay, so the answer here is not given, okay, according to the text. Right, next one. Polar bears live in Singapore. Okay, is that true? Do polar bears live in Singapore? True or false? So on the equator where I live, someone said earlier it's too hot. Okay, so the factual truth is it's false. They do not. Okay, but the answer according to the text. Now this time, what do we think? Polar bears live in Singapore. Now, Canada, parts of Canada are in the Arctic. Okay, but not all of the Arctic is in Canada. Yeah. Now, Singapore, is Singapore in the Arctic? So Singapore, it's not in the Arctic, right? So Singapore is not in the Arctic, right? Okay, so it's false. We know it's false, okay, but it doesn't specifically say. So, I mean, this one actually, I'm not sure if we would say that was false or not given, because it's impossible for it to be correct, but it's not, the answer is not given. So it's very ambiguous, okay? Would be a very confusing question. So it's a bad question, all right? I'm leaning towards not given, but I think there would be an argument for false. Yeah, but again, in the zoo, right? In the zoo. So again, very ambiguous question, right? Okay, let's try this one. Polar bears have white fur. So we put false. Okay, what's the factual truth? Do they have white fur? Okay, right. So again, this is very difficult. So we want to put it's true. Actually, it's kind of not true. So their fur is actually transparent. It's transparent fur, which is hollow. So it's not white, but it looks white. Okay, it looks white. So is it true? Is it false? It's not white, but it looks white because of the way that it reflects the light. So again, here it's a very difficult, ambiguous question, right? According to the text, as it says, there's no color pigment. We're going to say that it is false. Okay. All right. Polar bear. Oh, yeah. Polar bear fur is transparent. That one. Okay. We just told you that is true. Okay. So we can put that one in there. Okay. Polar bears have black skin. How about this one? This one we said is true. Okay. It says it's true there. So according to the text, also true. How about this last one? So again, this is an example of one that where my students often tripped up on this. Polar bears are dangerous. Is it true? Is the fact true? It is true. So it's factually true. Okay, they are dangerous. But does it say that in the text? It does not say that in the text. Okay, so we're going to have to put it is not given. All right, so a couple of points I want to make here. The first one is that the most important thing, students have to rely on what they're told in the text. They cannot lean on their background knowledge. Okay, and they shouldn't be inferring too much. Unless it's an inference question, they shouldn't be inferring. So true, false, not given. They're not inferring there. You're just going on the information that you're given. Okay, so only use the information in the text. Second point is, if you are making your own true, false, not given, you have to be very, very careful, because it's very easy to confuse your students like this. Because as I say, that some answers can be ambiguous and can be confusing. All right. I've got a comment here. I think you'd also need to check where the text is coming from, Linda. Yeah, so I took this information from the World Wildlife Fund, a website, so I know that this is true. But yeah, learners focus on what is in the text, especially EFL learners, right? They should do exactly they should focus on what is in the text. Okay, let's go back. Okay, and we're going to finish off the activity here. So let's try these questions. So we're going to go and have a look at them. Sloman and his colleagues discovered helium rain. Okay, now this one here we've got there. Let's mark down the keywords. So it says here they discovered helium rain. Okay, so we've got here true, false, or not given. So let's go back and look. So we're going to look for our keyword. Okay, Sloman and helium rain. So let's go back and have a look. In fact, let's mark up all the questions first and then check them, right? Okay, so the second one, the volunteers were told that helium rain comes from certain clouds. Okay, so volunteers told helium rain, certain clouds. I'm going to highlight that. Okay, from certain clouds. Number 3, the second group of volunteers rated their understanding of helium rain higher than the first. Okay, so group 2 rated understanding higher. Okay, and the last one, Waits has carried out many experiments. So Waits did many experiments on motivated reasoning. Okay, so let's go and have a look at them. Number 1, so Sloman discovered helium rain. Let's go and have a look. It's on the other page. Here we go. So let's have a look. It says in one experiment, Sloman and a colleague invented a discovery called helium rain. So there's a word there that gives us the answer. Which word there is going to help us answer this question? So remember, we're looking for invented, right? Okay, so I can see invented there. It's there. Okay, so is it true? Discovery is there, right? Discovery. So yeah, it's this word here, invented, okay, which is telling us that it's not true, because invent means to make up. It means it's not real, okay? So if we go back over here, we can say that this one is definitely going to be false. They didn't discover it, okay? It was invented. So let's put it as false. Okay, number 2, the volunteers were told that helium rain comes from certain clouds. Okay, so let's go and find the helium rain again. Now in here, can you see any mention here of clouds in there? Anything to do with clouds? Okay, nothing to do with clouds. Now, does it tell us that they weren't told that? So it doesn't tell us that they weren't told that, but it doesn't tell us that it was told that, right? So the answer to this one is, as there's no information at all, there's no information about clouds, we're going to say that this one is, what do we think? So there's zero information about clouds, certain clouds. Yeah, this is going to be not given. So by certain clouds, it means this cloud and not that cloud, but actually there's no mention of clouds at all. So this one is going to be not given. There's no information about clouds there. Okay, remember, we're not implying, okay, we're just going on the facts here. Number 3, the second group of volunteers rated their understanding of helium rain higher than the first. Okay, let's go back to that. Okay, and we can see here, we mentioned this earlier. Okay, so group 1, okay, was 1 out of 7. Group 2 was 2 out of 7. Okay, so we're looking for, is 2 higher than 1? The second group rated their understanding higher than the first. So is it true, false, or not given? So group 2 gave themselves an understanding of 2. Group 1 gave themselves 1. So what do we think? True, false, or not given? Okay, I'll just show you the text again. Yeah, I think most of you are saying it's true. Okay, so I'll let you see again. Group 2, when asked to rate their understanding, they gave an answer of 2, which means they understand more than the first group, which gave themselves an answer of 1. So we can see that this one is going to be true. Okay, and the last one, Waits has carried out many experiments to investigate motivated reasoning. Many experiments. So let's have a look at Waits and his experiments. Okay, over here. So we're looking for our keyword. Here it is, Adam Waits. He's a professor. Okay, and he talks about motivated reasoning. Now, in this paragraph here, do you see any mention of experiments or many experiments? Can you see that? So in paragraph G, do we have any mention at all? None. Okay, right. So although he's a professor and he's an expert in motivated reasoning, we would assume he has done a lot of experiments on it because he's an expert in it. But actually, it does not tell us that in this paragraph. There's no mention of experiments here. There were experiments earlier, but that was not Adam Waits. That was someone else doing it. So to go back into our questions here. Oh, I'm on the wrong page. Okay, so we're going to say this last one. What do we think? Is it true, false, or not given? It is not given. Excellent. Okay, so let's just check our answers, okay, of our evaluating statements. So first one, they discovered helium rain. Okay, we said false, and the answer was false. Number two, the volunteers were told that helium rain comes from certain clouds. We said not given, and the answer is not given. Number three, the second group of volunteers rated their understanding of helium rain higher than the first. We said true, and the answer was true. And the last one, Waits has carried out many experiments to investigate motivated reasoning. Okay, we said not given, and the answer is not given. Okay, so give yourself a pat on the back. We got all of those 100% correct. In the chat box for me, have you found this with your students? Do your students find this difficult, the true, false, not given? As I say, for me, it was definitely something my students struggled with quite a lot. Just, yeah, Bronwyn. Okay. So, and I think, as I said, the secret is to explain to your students when you're looking at them, you need to show them why it's not true and why it's not false, right? Lou says with EFL learners. Yeah. So this lesson is for EFL learners. Okay, so yeah, this whole lesson is definitely for EFL or ELT learners. So that's what we're talking about today. Yeah, especially false and not given, says C Min, right? So yeah, I find what I found really helps is by explaining to them why is it not true, why is it not false, and it's those not given ones which are a problem. You need to say there's nothing in here about it. Don't infer. Okay, don't use your background knowledge. We can only go from the text. Okay, great. So we've learned a lot today, okay, about why we believe things which are not true. Okay, just before we wrap up here, I want to look a little bit more, okay, at the these reasons we gave at the beginning. So these are the reasons we gave for why we believe things which are not true. And I want to match them to some of the ones that we found in the reading, okay, just as this last thing to help us sort of sum up, okay, what we've learned today. Okay, so these are the ones that we got from the reading. Do any of these match? So let's look at this one here. We said earlier that we rely on in the text it told us we rely on scientists or experts to confirm it is true. So did we say that earlier? This one, relying on scientists or experts, was that the same as what we said? We did, didn't we? So we said that it was the same as G, wasn't it? Because someone in authority tells us. Well done. Okay, how about this one? We do not verify or check information. Is that the same as any of the ones that we wrote? We do not verify or check information. That is D, right? Great. So yeah, we do not check if it's real. Well done. Exactly the same. How about this one? Motivated reasoning. Is that the same as any of these things? Yeah, it is the same because we already believe it. Okay, so motivated reasoning means we already believe it. Some of you said confirmation bias, right? Okay, great. And the last one is knowledge spreads like contagion. Is that the same as any of the ones here? It could be. It's not exactly the same. I think this one is similar to, let's define that one again. So we'll add one more here because other people think it is true, right? So we can add that one here, right? Yeah, because and people tell us it is true, right? So what can we, what can we summarize from this? So we can summarize, we need to keep these things in mind when we're online, when we're doing things in life. We need to keep in mind that things are not always as they seem. We know that we're programmed to believe stuff and we need to be careful. Then we need to protect ourselves from misinformation. And you told me how to do it. You need to fact check. You need to be aware. You need to look at the source. You need to ask questions. You need to check with other people. And by doing these things, we can help protect ourselves online and generally in life from believing things which are not true. We can be better informed and we can be better people. Okay, so I'm going to go back into my slide deck and just sum up. All right. So I think I can just do it from here. I think I don't need to do the other the other type of share. Am I sharing? I'm not sharing. Let's just do a normal screen share. Okay. So The content we've been looking at today, as I said earlier, is from Reading Explorer, okay, the 3rd edition, which is now on Spark. And this is one of our most popular reading programs. Okay, it's suitable for learners from A2 all the way up to C1. And it really gets some interesting topics and gives our students all these reading skills. It looks at all the different types of questions that they're going to get in exams, and really works on their critical thinking. Fantastic program, really, really interesting. The CPT, the classroom presentation tool I use today, is just one of the tools that you will now find on our digital platform Spark, which has been designed to support teachers and learners through every step of the learning journey. It's giving you resources at your fingertips all in one place. You can place students, the students get an ebook. You can assign homework online, you can assign tests online. All of those are automatically graded in your gradebook, which you can use to get insights into your students' learning. So this is a really a huge step forwards in what we can offer to teachers like yourselves in terms of digital support. If you'd like to know more about the program, okay, Reading Explorer, or about Spark, please send me an email. A couple more things I want to share with you. We will send you a certificate, and the certificate and the recording to this webinar will go out tomorrow. So yeah, please be patient with us. By the end of tomorrow, you will get information. You will get this information. You'll get your certificate, and you'll be able to get the recording. My colleague Kitty has just put some links into the chat box there. One is for the program itself, which I can show you here. So this is the website. Okay. So you can go there and you can find out more information. There are lots of downloads you can get here. Kitty, if you could just drop that website in again. There are all these downloads you can get yourself. You can look at the scope and sequences. You can have a look at a unit walkthrough. You can find out the CFR correlations. You can try a unit for free. So you can download a unit from almost every level. And you could use that. You could download it. You could use it in your classroom. Okay. So yeah, have a look at those resources there. I'll just drop this into the chat box as well. I'm sure Kitty already did it. I'll just do it again. Okay, there we go. And the other link there was for the sampler, where you can get more information on the program as well. All right. We also have, I want to show you, which I can do from here on our website, eltngl.com. If you go to learn, a couple of things I want to show you here. You can find all of our webinars here, so the upcoming ones, and also the webinar library, and also our blog and newsletters. If I click on webinars, it should show me which webinars are upcoming. Maybe I'll do it from here. I've just gone to that link there, webinar library. Here they are, right? Okay, so we can see there are a few upcoming webinars. This is the one I did today. There's another one coming up, which is teaching through inquiry, combining course materials with student-driven learning, and another one here about channeling climate emotions to inspire student action. So I'm guessing about the SDGs. So go to the website, click on those, find out more information. You can register there, okay, and sign up for another webinar. I hope you have had an interesting experience today. I'm just going to check the Q&A box. There's one here from Cherry. It says, for the critical thinking sections of Reading Explorer, do you think students should talk and discuss more or write it as an essay? It's a good question, Cherry. In my opinion, if you have time, they should do both. I think in class, it's good to discuss those ideas. So maybe get them to prepare something, have a discussion about it, and then perhaps at home, they could write it up. One way you can do it is you could get them, I like to do it like this. You put people into groups, and let's say you have an opinion about something. You tell one group, you have a positive opinion and you have a negative opinion. So it's not their opinion, but they're thinking of all the reasons why it could be a good thing, and the other group think of all the reasons why it could be a bad thing. Then they share those ideas, so they're brainstorming, they share all those ideas, and then okay, they use that information to then formulate their own opinion. Okay, and then they write that down. Okay, so I quite like that technique when we're talking about opinions, getting them not just to give their own opinion first, but to think outside the box, get all that information, and then formulate their opinion. Great. So I don't think there are any more questions here. I'm a few minutes over. Luz is asking explore. So no, Explore Our World. Explore Our World, Luz, is a program for young learners. Okay, for roughly 6 to 12-year-olds. What we looked at today, Reading Explorer, is an academic program focusing on academic skills, and this program is would be for older students, okay, maybe for high school students, maybe for university students, okay, for anyone who's studying academic English. You can find out more information about all of our programs if you go to our website, eltngl.com, click on catalog, and then from there, you would see here that, so Explore Our World would be here under primary or young learners, whereas Reading Explorer would be here under academic. Sorry, I've got them that. Yeah, would be here under academic skills. So academic reading. Okay, that's where you will find Reading Explorer. Okay, great. Thank you, everyone. That is, yeah, I think we're going to call that a wrap today. So yeah, thanks again for your participation. There will be a short survey when you leave the webinar. So if you could just fill in those few questions, I would be really grateful for the information you give me. Have a great day, and I hope to see you at one of our webinars again soon. Go to our website, okay, eltngl.com, sign up for another webinar, and we'll see you again soon. Okay, take care, everyone. Okay, goodbye.